comments as well.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it, and I thank the panel for being here. For someone who did serve on the Cybersecurity Task Force, it's almost like you go home, go to your office, and it's like, do I really want to turn that thing on now or not? And if I could go back first, Mr. Connor, talking about the yellow lock that you're engaged with Mr. Rogers in discussion about. A lot of times, though, they tell you if this comes up, the HTTPS comes up, you're safe. You're going to tell me that's not true now?
The only thing I would tell you is unless that Chrome goes green, I wouldn't assume that you're safe.
Okay, because the reason I asked that, we got to get this message out to our constituents and the American people. And I know that a lot of folks, see that little yellow lock come up and say, I'm fine.
That's right.
I hate to say that my daughters were on some social networking, and we had a problem for about 4 days so they could spend, I don't know how much money to get the thing fixed, because we could get back on the computer. But, I'm really very cognizant of the fact now, watching for that HTTPS to come up, because, again, it also goes to the whole point of, again, if let's say you do online banking, or you see people do certain things, but we need to be able to communicate that. So that's one thing. If I could ask Mr. Dix and Dr. Schneck this question, you both in your testimony, the idea of creating trusted relationships online, either through authenticated emails or through whitelisting. Could you elaborate on these ideas and explain how they differ from the previous cybersecurity measures like spam filters and blacklisting?
Ladies first.
Boy, I tell you what, everybody wants to get off that one.
So I would focus on trusted relationships in the macro and a little bigger. I would say that we all need to work together, and we do. Organizations such as Bob mentioned, organizations such as the NCFTA and the InfraGard show that government and private work together. I think we're dealing online today with a world much different than spam filter. I used to help build a spam appliance many companies ago. And what we looked at then was only the email vector. Now you have the web vector, the firewall vector, the mobile vector. Again, the enemy's faster. So when you start looking at trusted relationships online, we had at least 30 different parameters we looked at just at email. It wasn't just did I trust the sender. It was all kinds of things and indicators in that note. And now you multiply that. So you have, from our perspective in protecting against cybersecurity threats at all the different vectors, we have over 1,000 different parameters of trust that we look at. And it's not just an established relationship, it's what's your behavior been lately, as in the last 2 milliseconds and the last 15 years.
Continuing to advance the development and implementation of the National Strategy for Trusted Identities in Cyberspace is a step in the right direction, and that's an example where industry and government, working with NIST, have come together to deal with this issue of identity. Every one of my colleagues here has mentioned the issue of identity as being a root issue in this entire trust discussion that we're having here today. So there is an effort underway. It's collaborative, it's producing results, and moving to implementation for the NSTIC would be a step in the right direction.
Mr. Connor?
Just the last comment on that is, the irony of this is if you think of who are the most trusted identities we use, they're usually government issued. And I think this is one area our government needs to get out of the U.S. think and into the rest of the world think.
Yeah, let me kind of go on with this because, again, when you're looking at, people trusting what they're doing on the Internet and banking, I don't care what it is. But, when we're talking about trust, this is another discussion was held a little bit earlier, we're talking about not buying from the low-cost, low-bid, and you need to buy from that trusted source. But how do you know? How do you know that even if you buy from somebody that's trusted, that stuff is still good without going through? I mean, how do you go through unless you're testing? Is it you're testing constantly, or just throw that out to all of you?
So since I brought that up, I'll take that first with your permission, sir. So each of us that are manufacturers have a network of authorized resellers and distributors that we utilize in the distribution of our products into the marketplace. That's a place to start from, understanding who those authorized providers are. There's also a great deal of work that's going on right now through the Trusted Technology Forum and the Open Group to be able to create a certification and accreditation process for suppliers, working collaboratively with the government, again, in a standards-based approach to being able to address this issue. So there is some good work that's going on right now, but the fundamental piece of it, in my mind, is cultural. we're still evaluating people in departments and agencies on their ability to meet cost and schedule. That drives a certain behavior because it doesn't have security as a paramount foundation of that conduct.
Mr. Chairman, I see my time has expired and I yield back.
Thank you very much.